Welcome to the WP SEO Show, brought to you by SEO Hive, your proactive white label SEO partner. The WP SEO Show is all about talking WordPress and SEO, from optimizations, structures, setups, and plugins. We explore how to make your WordPress website perform better in the search engines. Here are your hosts, Pete Everett and Jeff Patch.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the WP SEO Show. I am here with my good friend Jeff, all the way from California. Hey Jeff, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you. I'm all right. I missed out the I'm Pete and I'm your co-host, and I'm here with my co-host. And now I've said it anyway, so it's pointless me missing out the first time around. But it felt kind of better. For full transparency, both of us struggle with the intro to this podcast because it seems like co-host and, you know, Jeff and Pete and, you know, rootin' tootin', and it all seems a bit weird.
I like the rootin' and tootin' part, but yeah, no, it is the most uncomfortable thing to start a podcast. Like, I have no problem being on them and talking and hanging out and stuff, but starting it, and especially when you are the one literally starting it, is so freaking awkward. It makes me feel so weird every single time. So,
and the problem is if neither of us start it, then it sounds like this. And nobody's going to listen to that for very long. So
should have had the rim shot in there for you. Ching, good joke. There we go. We got our first joke in 1 minute in. All right.
So, no, welcome to the show. It's been a good couple of weeks. Have you had a good few weeks?
Yes. It's work has been very nice. I wouldn't say it's been busy. It is kind of the end of year, slowing down a little bit, but probably have never felt more efficient and on top of things in years, as long as I can remember in years. So I'm feeling like at least we're hitting the end of the year here in a really nice stride. At least a stress-free one.
That's good. Yeah, it's all a bit weird. I always find the last quarter of the year a bit strange because, and Black Friday expedites it to a certain extent, because not only is it the end of the year, you want to finish strong. One of the cycling friends that I have, whenever we're doing a hill or a ride somewhere, he's always like, finish strong. So there you go, Dean. There's a shout out to you, mate. But you do want to finish strong. You do want to hit your targets or your goals for the year. But with the marketing that comes around Black Friday and all of the sales that sort of tried to be forced through that kind of window, it feels more and more like people are using or marketing Q4 anyway in order to gear up for the next year, and almost like, oh, well, this year's done and dusted. So yeah, now you need to focus on the next one. And by the way, give me some money in my Black Friday sale for this thing that's going to help you do whatever next year. And yeah, it just seems to be a bit kind of forgotten, but
a little bit. I've got to say, I do not want Black Friday to happen this year. I would be fine if we just erase this from our made up list of holidays. I'm just so over it. I'm so burnt out on Black Friday. I know we've gone back and forth off and on for years. Should we do a Black Friday thing? Should we not? Should we? And then you just get all these just emails and advertisements. And it does feel like, maybe because it's just a little early, but it does feel like it's less this year. People aren't kind of worried about it. But I've seen a couple posts on Facebook or something, people hey, has anybody seen or heard about any good Black Friday deals yet? And it's dude, it's 6 weeks away. Wait a second.
I know. I'll be honest. I can't ever say that I haven't participated in a Black Friday deal because I have. But what I can say is that everything I've bought as part of a Black Friday deal is because I was going to buy it anyway, and I just got it from Black Friday because it was a bit cheaper. I really do try and remove myself from the hype of hey, get this shiny thing, never to be seen again offer, get it now or you will lose. I don't. If you're gonna have to do that to convince me, I don't want to know.
Exactly. So, yeah. Oh, look at this. It's a great deal. You didn't even know about it yesterday. You don't need it. Now, I got to say, though, I probably have. I'll admit, I probably have bought a few things where I'm ooh, that sounds good. But I don't know. I'm definitely moving away from that now. I feel like the last thing I bought was, just like you said, it was something that I literally waited a month to buy the license for. Because I was no, I know it's going on sale on Black Friday. I'm going to wait. I'm going to save me $100. And did it. But yeah, I already wanted it. And yeah, I don't know. Before AppSumo deals, you guys email, you're nope, I don't even want to know about them anymore. I don't even open those emails anymore.
Oh, now interesting. I do read the AppSumo ones because there are some cool tools and stuff in there. I don't buy very frequently. I maybe only buy 3 or 4 things a year, I guess. But I do read them just because I find them interesting. But yeah,
well, I can predict it now, and I know this isn't the point of this show today, but this Black Friday is going to be all AI tools. 99%, because that's what AppSumo is right now. It's everything is an AI tool for repurposing your content or for search key terms, or I mean, it's everything is an AI term. So I don't know. I kind of wish that a couple years ago. I mean, I don't, but in a as far as like a maximizing like profit, or I don't know. What am I trying to say? Like, taking the bank from somebody right now would be like to build AI apps. Just keep building them. I feel like people are just going to be doing this until we're just like, stop with all the AI apps, and they're going to make their money and run, and they're just all going to die apart in a few months. So
maybe that's a theme for a show or a live or something that we should do, which is like, a roundup of the best SEO Black Friday tools on Black Friday sale. So maybe help some of our dear listeners out there who are still listening to us waffle on now, help them maybe make some informed choices if they were wanting to participate in any Black Friday things.
Maybe.
That's not to say that we want to encourage you to do it, but if you do want to do it, then here's some recommendations.
We'll see what comes up around Black Friday.
I can already tell Jeff's not sold on that idea.
Well, actually, what I think would be fun would be doing a live or hang out with some other people too, and just reviewing and or ripping all of the deals that we found. I feel like that would just be fun. Like, just everybody get a beer or something like that. Let's just look at all the deals and let's just talk trash about them. Just have some fun.
So let's segue seamlessly into what this episode was about, because we were actually quite close to a segue and then we waffled on about Black Friday, and which is what we wanted to talk about was about the management process that we go through, that we recommend that you should go through for managing monthly SEO clients. Because actually there's a bit of a misnomer around this to do with, expecting a monthly client to kind of just require a kind of monthly effort from you. And actually what we've found doing our thing is that as we're serving clients, particularly as we're working with clients through our managed plan, it's really interesting to see. It's really quite surprising to see the difference if you have more of a weekly process for managing your monthly clients and how that affects the flow of work that goes through the business. So that's really kind of the frame for the topic for this week.
Yeah, if anything, I think that this is good, kind of good habits and things to get into when you're dealing with clients, regardless of whether it's SEO or whatever. I mean, maybe if you're hosting a website, you don't need to bug them every week about it. But like if you're working on marketing for your clients, right, you need to kind of be on top of it, or you at least need to be holding their hand through the process. There's so many different plans and strategies and, ways you can set things up. And admittedly, we have multiple ways of doing that and how we interface with both agency and their clients. So, there's a lot of ways to go about it, but I think the important thing and things that we've seen over and over again is that a lot of times people will sign them up, whether it's with us or something else, on a monthly plan, and then just kind of go, cool, they're set, right? Everything's good, and just let it go. And some clients, that's fine. I've got plenty of clients that every time I email them something, they're just like, cool, I don't care. Are things working? That's all I need to know. And then there's other ones that will question every single plugin update that shows up in a report. Like, hey, we saw you updated the event calendar on Tuesday. Why? Because it needed an update. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you've got to you've got to put these in place, but you can also, put up the safeguards and the rails to, make these conversations smooth and efficient, and make sure that your clients know that you're looking out for them and holding your hand through the processes.
Well, and there's a consequential effect with this when it comes to SEO as well, which is that any changes you make on a site take time to reflect in the search results, which therefore then take time to appear in the reports and whatever that you get to deliver to your client at the end of each month. So, if you have a monthly client and the due date for them is simply set the day before their renewal, and you kind of, kick back, enjoy their fee, go on holiday to the Bahamas for 3 weeks, and then get back to them at the last week of the month and think, oh crap, I best do some work for them now.
Yeah.
You're not gonna be able to really report anything based on the work you have done that month, because you've left it too late. And that's not to say we do all of our work right at the start of the month, just to so that it can filter into the reports the most. But we do genuinely check in with clients every week. Each site has a check-in at some point every week by a member of the team, looking at looking at some of the stats, checking up on the status of the work that's going to go through to make sure it is delivered on time. We on some of our plans, we send weekly roundups to clients as well. So if you're like on our local plan, for example, we will send you a roundup. Here's the reviews you got this week, so the client knows that we've been in touch with their account at least every week. Those things go out on Fridays. So there is kind of a number of reasons why, particularly for an SEO retainer, it is important to set some time aside, even if it's just like a small pocket of 15, 20, 30 minutes each week for each site that you manage, in order to make sure that the client is getting the best result for it at the end. And that ultimately you have something to say back to the client, because you're the one that's going to look bad if it's, if there's nothing to report.
Yeah. And I mean, like you said, it's being able to let them know that you're there and you're looking out for them. And whether or not every week you have an amazing success story, like, hey, we just did this and now we're ranking for 12 more keywords on page 1, that's amazing. That's not going to happen every week, and that's okay, but you need to be on top of that. And I think with the volatility in search rankings, which is something that constantly blows my mind, right? Because it's you try to have a conversation like, oh, look, you're on spot 3 for this one, and then next week they're in spot 5. Nothing has changed. You haven't done anything one way or the other. It's just the world we're living in and the other people doing things. Then the next week you're back to 3 or maybe even at 2. So just kind of having those, maybe those are weekly reports, whether those are automated or whatever, but those are, that's a quick one to look at, and you can have those conversations, right? Because if they just look and they go, hey, we went down 3 spots this week, that's not good. Maybe there's a problem, but if they don't get that from you and they're just getting it themselves, it is a problem. You know what I mean? Whereas you are in the position to analyze the situation and go, it's nothing. Next week, you know what I mean? You can look at it, you can make sure nothing's wrong, you can check and make sure that, I don't know, the search engines didn't get blocked in WordPress for some reason, you know what I mean? Because that could potentially happen and be the cause, but chances are it's just the volatility in the search rankings. And we've been seeing that go up and down, and even like, around like top 5, it's more stable, but sometimes like around like 30, it'll go like up or down 20 in a week. It's just the wildest like roller coaster of things. So that's just a quick example that kind of popped into my mind to go, hey, look out for them and, keep your eye on these things and talk to them, let them know.
There's loads of good reasons for it. And, keeping up to date with algo updates as well. If you're monitoring all of your clients every week, which I realize to some people might seem like a huge job, and we'll get on to ways of making it a bit more efficient in a moment. But if you're keeping in touch with all of your clients every week, then as algo updates are applied, and as trends change within the search results, then actually you can see the effect of that kind of across the board. When the helpful content update was rolled out of those 3 updates through August and September, and websites seemed to go all over the place, for those of us that were kind of keeping in touch with our clients on a regular, like weekly basis, it became very obvious really quite quickly that there was 2 groups of clients here. You're going to have the winners and the losers, basically. And you could very easily see, how those trends match. So likewise, when you're communicating with your clients, you're not just left in the dark about saying, oh, what's wrong? Because your default position is to say, right, well, what has happened on this one website in isolation? But actually you're looking at your entire portfolio, and that gives you a little more confidence and a little more information to put your clients at ease and to understand a bit more about what the effects of these things are. And that is one of the challenges with SEO particularly, which is that, we're not in control of the rules, and those rules get changed. Those goalposts keep getting moved every so often. And because of that, as we just said, some clients win at more times at certain times, and other clients lose at certain times, and that's just the nature of the beast of being active in SEO and wanting organic traffic.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe it's a little off topic, but that's kind of conversely one of the issues we deal with as a white label provider is that we don't necessarily vet or interview the clients that we take on because we're working with agencies, which I suppose we do in a sense. But, we put in, I don't want to say the same amount of work, but essentially we do the same job for, the service, right? We deliver our service, and how that affects one client is going to be different from how it affects a different client, just because of the nature of their industry, the products they sell. We've had some very wacky products sold from clients, and it's like, we could do all the search engine stuff, but whether or not people are going to buy your weird product, I don't know, but after the time and managing those clients and, paying attention, we can get more information on that. Whereas if you just kind of throw them into a monthly thing and let it sit and go, you're probably going to grow their rankings, but you might not really have your finger on the dial, I guess, per se, in a sense of knowing what you need to do to actually get them to sales, right? Because it's one thing to get traffic, it's another thing to actually talk somebody into buying the product or the service or trusting you and stuff. So it's kind of funny. I think there's a huge disconnect between search ranking and sales. It doesn't always equate.
Well, I was just about to say, and if you want to know more about that, please go and check out our episode on conversion rate optimization, SEOhive.co/. 031, I think it was.
I think so.
Yeah. So, but yeah, go and check that out. We talked more about kind of the conversion side of the SEO coin in that episode, and it was a good chat. We enjoyed it. Not everybody did, but we did.
That was still fresh in my mind. I thought it was a good one.
Yeah. But look, so in order to sort of give you some action points from this, in order to make this episode valuable rather than just us kind of chewing the fat about it, there are a few places to start with what to review for each client each week that I just want to run through just to, and these are very much broad brushstroke things that you can check in with whilst you're having a coffee and make sure that things are happening. So the first thing is kind of a bit of an SEO review. So you need to make sure that you're checking in with your rankings. We've already mentioned those. So if you're running software like SEMrush or Ahrefs or whatever it is, have reports set up in there. If you're working with us, we will through your management dashboard, you can see your rankings on there. So get those. Go and check in with your rankings on a weekly basis. This is the rankings for the client. Now, I wouldn't necessarily encourage the client to check in with them every week, but this is for you as the agency to make sure you're aware of the things that are going up and down. Make sure you're aware of your traffic as well, particularly your organic acquisition. That's, again, something that you want to make sure is stable, if not increasing. And ideally looking at annual comparisons if you can in Google Analytics, because obviously monthly. We've just been talking about being in Q4. We've got Thanksgiving, Christmas, whatever coming up. Your analytics are going to be all over the place. Whereas if you at least you do annual, then it kind of balances some of that out. So you need to make sure that's done. You need to go and check things like Google Search Console and make sure that there hasn't been just a whole ton of errors appeared out of the blue that you might need to address. So they're really the key things from a site perspective. And then of course you then want to check in with things like, what are the tasks for this month? So is the client waiting on copy? Have the GBP posts been scheduled? And that kind of thing. And then the final thing I would always check is actually hooking this into a metric that is important to the client. So whether that is the total number of sales that they're after, or whether that's an increase in inquiries through particular submission forms, or whatever it is, make sure that you're checking in with their KPIs as well. And whilst I've just said I wouldn't necessarily report all of this to the client every week, I would do a couple of things. One is I would make sure that I'm sending them any highlights. So if anything's gone particularly well, I'd make sure I'm reporting that back to them. I would also be asking them if we're waiting for them on anything to sort of G them up throughout the month. And then the last thing is I certainly wouldn't ever go more than 2 weeks without just having a check-in with the client, just to say, hey, how's it going? How are those sales looking? Maybe you need the information for them for their inquiries or sales or whatever. That's a great tool for you to just make sure you're pinging them an email. And all of that, whilst that sounds like quite a long list, all of that you can do in 10 minutes, 15 minutes. It doesn't have to be a long period of time. On top of that, I would occasionally, particularly if I can see that we're maybe like a week or 10 days out from any of the work being delivered, I might then pop into their website and maybe just add in a couple of extra internal links somewhere, or if something had been flagged up on a health check report and it was, I don't know. I went into a site today, for example. No word of a lie. They had 10 page titles that had too much text in there in the title tag. So I just went and fixed it. I didn't, and I sent the client an email just saying, "Hey, found this. Just went and sorted it for you. Just wanted to let you know."
Just a little cleanup.
Yeah, just a little cleanup. It literally, I did it whilst I was having my morning coffee. We were waiting for a delivery to come, so I didn't want to get involved in anything big and heavy. So I knew the guy was like 4 stops away or whatever. So it was just something I did because it was a good thing to do, and I try to do more good to this world than I take from it, and that's just the kind of guy that I am.
Oh, so you're such a sweetheart.
So
we need more people like that in this world, though. Well, you mentioned something.
I didn't say it to be self-deprecating.
No, I'm being serious. What do we do? You mentioned something a second ago that I wanted to go back to, and checking in and seeing how like maybe their sales are going. Obviously, with SEO and marketing and everything, and we could set up goals and we could check things. If it's an e-commerce site, you can see how their sales are going. If it's lead gen site, you can see how many leads they're getting. But actually talking to them is really helpful, because a lot of these don't get necessarily picked up in analytics, because if they're not selling something like an e-commerce thing on their site, maybe they have to call them up to order it, or actually go into the store or something like that. That's stuff that you need to actually talk to them about to find out. So we do, for an example, I'll try to be as non as possible, but a jewelry company, and they make custom jewelry, right? And they're, technically speaking, over the last couple of months, their e-commerce sales are slightly down from when we started. But having a conversation with them about it, wondering, what is there anything, is that random? Is there anything about what we're doing? And they told us, oh no, we have had so many custom sales that have all done over the phone. They're like, no, don't even worry about what's going through the website. It's been great. So he's like, okay, all right, good. So let's keep focusing on that. So that's good news to make us feel good about knowing that we're doing a good job and everything like that. But really what we learned was this is where we need to keep focusing these efforts. If we can track them better, that would be great. But obviously this is way more beneficial than a few extra spots in Google that we're tracking in our reporting dashboards. If they've made an extra $200,000 in custom jewelry sales this quarter, that's amazing. You know what I mean? Let's focus on that.
That's it. Absolutely. And we were talking about this in I think it was in the conversion rate optimization show, which is, if you get this right for your clients, actually, when they hit a critical mass where they are so busy, they actually kind of don't really care so much about the SEO. Not in terms of they're going to stop it. They want you to keep on doing it because they know you're the key to that success, but they don't care so much about the positions or about the traffic. They just want to make sure that the phone keeps on ringing, or those sales keep on coming in, or however it happens, they just want more of it. They want you to keep it up. I'm amazed we've got this far into the show without Jeff mentioning Bob the plumber, to be honest. I nearly mentioned him earlier just to make him feel better, because I have a horrible feeling he might be feeling left out of this episode. So anyway,
well, I mean, actually, you mentioned Bob the plumber, and then I start thinking, well, that's probably one of the easiest and most common type of sites you see with fantastic tracking, fantastic call tracking, form. You know what I mean? Everything goals, because it's less complicated than something else I was talking about, like big e-commerce sales and custom orders and stuff. People go on a plumber site, they book them, or they send an inquiry, or they, have a custom quote or something like that. It can all be very tracked very easily. So that's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you feel better, Bob the plumber? We're still looking out for you.
I hope so. He might leave us a review.
He might.
Man, that would be awesome if at some point we get a review, hopefully a 5-star review.
What if we actually start helping somebody in our area named Bob the plumber, like Bob rank just from all of these mentions or whatever?
I do need to put a disclaimer in here that we are not being sexist. We are equally would support anybody called Charlotte the plumber as well. That's this isn't a sexist kind of thing.
I was actually thinking it was Bobby with an I, and I didn't even think it was a man. You see, there you go. Gosh.
Oh dear. So yeah, so they would be the things that I would check in with on a regular basis. As I say, a weekly kind of process. Have a task list, have a checklist, have a something somewhere, and just run through it for each client each week. The way I personally do it is I'm looking at it in my to-do list right now. Every Monday, I have a task set in my to-do list called review retainer clients, and within that is a sub list, which is all of the clients that I need to go and check in with. And they don't all happen on a Monday, but I'd say generally by kind of Wednesday afternoon, yeah, I've been through them all. I generally kind of tend to do them all in the same order as well, simply because they're all in folders in ClickUp. So I just start at the top and work my way down. But yeah, that's how I do it. I don't know. Have you got any other nuggets of wisdom about doing these processes on kind of a habitual kind of basis?
Well, I don't know about a nugget of wisdom necessarily, but I was going to say, for me, it's my Friday mornings. My Friday mornings are always like the slowest and just kind of like lightest part of the week. And so I just love sitting here with my cup of coffee. I work from home. My wife works from home. She has Fridays off. She usually goes out on Friday and goes like out hiking or birding or something. And not that she bothers me at all during the week, but when the house is just super quiet and it's just me, I'm like, I can just sit here and do this. And I don't know, I just feel alone and I can kind of focus on it. And so Fridays have kind of become my habit of big picture thinking and kind of goal tracking and things like that.
There you go. I was waiting to hear like blue sky.
Depends on the week.
You'll see a damn sight more of it than I will in Sheffield.
Yeah, we get a lot of blue skies around here.
Yeah, we don't. I'd be like drizzle thinking.
Ours occasionally, depending on time of year, will be black and gray from all the smoke and fires. But other times it's really pretty. If we're not burning, it's pretty.
Ooh. So that's kind of our thing. And like we mentioned, this is a process that we kind of build into our managed plan. So if you're struggling with any of this, or you have clients of your own that, and you think I can't do that for this many clients, or I don't really know where to start, then as I say, that is something we have built into our managed plan. This episode isn't really about the managed plan, but it is part of it. So if that is a burden that you do need some help with, then we have something that can help you with it. But I don't think we need to say much more about it.
Nope. Other than put your own in place if you're not doing them already, and if you aren't, we're here to help with it.
Just before we come into land with this episode, I had a chat with a client this week. I was going to say it was something on social media, but it wasn't. It was a chat with a client this week about which project. Well, they wanted a project management tool for processes, for very similar processes as this, and they were, they wanted to know how I structure things in ClickUp, and I shared a bit of that with it, and this, that, and the other, and they were like, "Yeah, but we just don't like ClickUp. Nobody uses it. We tried it, nobody uses it." And I'm like, "Well, then what will people use? Because the best project management system out there is the one that gets used. It doesn't really matter what it is. No. That's a secondary issue. Are people going to use it, and does it do what you need it to? Beyond that, it's kind of irrelevant."
Yeah, I know we could go off a whole topic about project management apps or insert type of app here, but just figure out what actually works for you to use it. I mean, they all essentially do the same thing. Some of them might have an extra feature or two. Some of them, like ClickUp, might start charging you out the butt for some of those features that you love. Sorry, I'm not a little bitter about some of their things lately. But they're all the same. Don't get overwhelmed with technology.
No, absolutely. So actually the client settled on Basecamp because
there you go.
It was the cleanest one, and they'd used it before. And when they had used it before, they could see that their team had kind of the biggest uptake from it. So I'm like, right, well, there's the removal of most of the barrier for implementation. So do that.
There you go. There you go. I used to use Basecamp a long time ago, and we still randomly get clients from like 7 or 8 years ago going, "Oh, I really miss that old tool you used to have, that whole project management system you used to have." I'm like, I don't even remember that you were in there. That was a long time ago.
See, I used to use Basecamp when I was a freelancer. The new look of Basecamp was kind of the new thing. So it's very much based on like sheets or pages now, isn't it? And that was kind of the new thing. So it moved from Basecamp 2 to Basecamp 3. And that was the thing I adopted. And as a freelancer, it was great. I found it really easy to manage the work I was doing for one, on my own, based on multiple clients. But the clients weren't really in there. It was all for me. And if I needed extra support, it was fine to sort of delegate bits of work that way. But the clients never really engaged with it. They didn't, it just didn't. It wasn't anything bigger than that. It didn't sit right for me. That's not to say other people don't make it work, but it didn't sit right for me.
I think chances are, like for an example, you said the clients didn't use it. They probably wouldn't use anything. You move to another one, they're going to do the same thing. So it's just kind of darned if you do, darned if you don't.
So look, we won't keep you any longer. This, if you've got any questions about what we've talked about today, if you think we've missed anything, feel free to drop us an email at hello.
Actually, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but honestly, if you've got any tips, I feel like this is a good one that we can kind of crowdsource and community source too. So feel free to share things because hopefully, if they're not, in the comments or something on this, or, if we get any good things, maybe we can rehash this topic in the future with some other things that we've kind of learned or heard from you guys. Cause I think that this is, it's such a broad topic, you know what I mean? We're very kind of just, hovering above this, kind of dropping a few nuggets here and there, but it's important and it really can help, not just organize, but, satisfy your clients and make sure that they look at you as their trusted provider, their source, their expert, in their business. So keep doing it.
And actually, one final note from me on this. If you've listened to this and then you've thought, I can't start doing that for all my clients, I don't have the time for it. Just pick a few. You'd be amazed how easy it is to get into the swing of doing these things. So pick your biggest retainer clients for next week. Just do 3 of them. Just check in with the biggest 3 to begin with, and then move on to, the next 2 or 3 after that. You don't have to at all try and do all of this in one go. But, honestly, the more and more you can be in touch with your clients, the more they appreciate it, the more that they stay with you, as you say, as their trusted advisor. Absolutely.
Yep.
And the more you've got to tell them.
Yeah.
Which is
hopefully
where it kind of
more good news than bad news.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, there is a point there, on a serious note, which is, if something bad happens, actually being able to go to a client and say, like mid cycle, and say, look, just so you're fully aware, there was an algo update 3 days ago. Your site hasn't fared particularly well, but we can see that amongst a group of our clients that we know why this has happened, and we're figuring out a plan to address certain parts of it for you. But we just wanted to make you aware, so it's not a surprise when we get to our monthly call in a couple of weeks. That is a far easier conversation to have than them not hearing from you for 30 days, coming to a meeting expecting everything to be hunky-dory, and then you get the graph up and it says like minus 40%. And all of a sudden you've got questions to answer.
Yeah, and you haven't had the time to figure out what's going on and let them know.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
A bad spot to be. No, you always want to be proactive. Always want to be proactive.
Just while we're on with Todoist and tasks and routines, just on that point, I always make a point. So when I have an SEO client meeting, I will at least 1 business day in advance, if not 2 business days in advance, go and review the data for the meeting. Just so that I don't have, I used to work at a place where like bookings for our boardroom to have, this was well before COVID. We're talking like 2014, 2015.
Real offices?
I worked in a real office, a real bricks and mortar business. And we had a glass boardroom right in the middle of the office. So everybody could see what was going on. But bookings for that boardroom, that was half the issue with arranging meetings with clients. We all had to have the meetings, but it wasn't so much your availability or the client's availability. It was, can we have the boardroom? So you'd end up with like stacking meetings. So like I got to the point where like every other week I would book it out for an entire morning, and I would see how many clients I could get to see me on that morning, just back to back to back to back to back. Reception hated it because they had to make coffee for everybody, but I didn't care. I was in the boardroom. And but yeah, you'd get to like your second or third or fourth meeting, and even if you'd had chance to review the data, because you've had so much going on in your head, it was like a surprise to you every time, and I hated it. So when I set my own thing up, I was like, nah, I'm not. That's one of the stresses I don't need. I'm in control of that. I can change it. That's what we're doing. So, unless there's an emergency coming up, people don't get a call with me like today, because I need to be able to see the numbers so that we can have a meaningful conversation. And it's the same with our strategy sessions. If you book a strategy session with either me or Jeff, it will ask for the information at least 48 hours, I think it says, ahead of the call, just so that we can be prepared, so that you get the most from the session with us.
Yeah, there's nothing more awkward than getting on a phone call and going, what do you want to know? I'm gonna have to go look that up. Thanks. Give me a few minutes, or let's circle back tomorrow. If you can share the info ahead of time or the questions, it always helps get you prepared.
Yeah, absolutely. So
I'm just amazed that you had a secretary or a staff that made coffee for you. I'm very jealous about that.
Oh no, they didn't make it for me. That'd be daft. It wasn't. Hang on. Whoa. Let's back up here. I didn't have a secretary. I've never had a secretary.
I went back and I changed that to staff. I don't want to say the secretary.
The agency I worked for had 2 people that worked on reception. They were receptionists. They dealt with everybody that came in. They answered the phone, and they dealt with everybody that came out. The problem was that because I was stacked in the boardroom with meetings, like I'd already be in meeting 1 and meeting 2 would arrive, and they'd have to look after them until I was ready. And that was the bit they didn't like, because they were making more cups of coffee than they thought was in their pay grade.
Just put the Keurig machine on top of the conference table and leave it.
So anyway, right. Well, we will wrap it up there. I hope you've got something out of this episode. It's you know what we were saying at the start about starting these episodes. I feel the same about ending them. I feel like at the end of these, I always say, I hope you've got something useful out of this. And if we don't see you, anywhere else, we'll see you in the next show. And that's kind of so maybe you should end this one.
Bye, everybody. See you next time.
And on that bombshell, we will end. See you later, everyone.
The WP SEO Show is brought to you by SEO Hive, your agency's proactive white label SEO partner. We understand that finding a reliable SEO supplier is key to ensuring you build stable monthly recurring revenue into your digital agency. At SEO Hive, we have a suite of products that will help you sell, scale and deliver your monthly SEO retainers, from our Scout reports and one-off technical boosters, to our flagship local SEO and honeypot plans, all of which have clear pricing and monthly deliverables. If you want to explore how SEO Hive can help your agency deliver high-quality and reliable SEO agreements for your clients, you can find more information at seohive.co and schedule a call to discuss the next steps.